Music Theology 2, Lecture 16, CCM and Catholicism. Getting into some territory I'm not that familiar with. You say, why are we doing this? Well, I will tell you one reason. Because we don't know that much about music. We don't know that much about Christian music today because a lot of us are in our independent fundamental Baptist churches and we just know the hymns we sing. And we don't know what's going on out there in Christianity. Also, we don't know that much about Catholicism and the Roman Catholics and what they're doing about music. And music seems to be, like I said before, a kind of a glue bringing people together. And the Catholics are taking on CCM. I don't know about by storm, but they are taking it on. So we'll learn a little bit about it. It's hard to find information on this. CCM is ecumenical music. This is from David Cloud, I think, most of this. In fact, contemporary Christian music is one of the glues holding together the end times ecumenical movement, which is made up of almost all of Protestantism, some cults, and I call it the Americanized Catholic Church system. Because I'm not so sure about, like in Italy, and Spain, and these places, what they're doing with CCM. But I know in America they are. Rocking Romans, 2008 Best of New Catholic Music. Look what it says below there. Can you read that?
No.
I can't either, but it was really good what it said. I can't remember what it said. It says, man, you have to go type that in, and then it'll tell you.
Something, one universal.
Yeah, one universal
The last
church.
one. Maybe it is church. One
Yeah, it's talking about bringing together everyone into one universal church. So it was really good. I wish it came out. This is from Making Musical Choices. Bob Jones says, aside from its commercialism and its increasing resemblance to the world, CCM is becoming a religious melting pot. Some in the community admit that they are not even believers. And while this is still an exception, CCM is proud of its ecumenical and charismatic spirit. This CCM ecumenism extends open arms toward apostate Protestant denominations and the Roman Catholic Church. CCM is pulling them all in. Why? Because you get money. Hey, Catholics, just think if Catholics will buy your album. 1 billion of them. Hey, that sounds good. Not one CCM musician that I know of, David Cloud says, stands against ecumenicism. I call it ecumenicism, it's easier to say. And doesn't stand against ecumenicism and boldly for the Word of God. Back it up. Not one CCM musician that David Cloud knows of stands against ecumenicism and boldly stands against ecumenism or stands boldly for the Word of God, the New Testament Church, the whole counsel of Bible doctrine. He just wrote that poorly. Let me go on to my very well-written part here. And these musicians are not just those that are famous. So you think about famous CCM artists. But it's also those that go church to church as music evangelists. I have never met a CCM musician that loves CCM and also loves separation. So if you know of a guy that tours or a group that tours, independent Baptist churches, and they like CCM, they sometimes play it, what we're talking about with the drums, the guitars and all. Are they big proponents of separation, holy standards, that sort of thing? No, I never see that. Why is that? Because they don't go together. So if you got holy standards and worried about separation and being just right on things, your music is going to be different. Pope John Paul II visited the States in 1999. Well-known CCM musicians joined hands with hundreds of thousands of Catholics to welcome him. Featured at a Catholic youth rally connected with the Pope's visit were DC Talk, Audio Adrenaline, Rebecca St. James, and Jars of Mud. Who are these people, you say? Well, if you've been in our CCM dialogue for a little bit here, you've seen these names before. Jennifer Knapp is an out-of-the-closet Catholic lesbian. See photo. There she is. Looks like a naughty little girl. Said she was excited about joining the Pope to build on the unity of faith. Did the Pope know that you were a lesbian? DC Talk's Kevin Max praised the Catholic youth for coming out to hear the Pope, describing John Paul II as someone with something of substance to say. I guess that's politically correct. He's got something of substance to say. Yeah. Our large group of nuns and Dominican priests danced with abandon. You can figure that out. at the Supertones rock music. I guess that's a group. I can see nuns dancing with abandon. I'm abandoned. Each attendee received a rosary with instructions about how to pray to Mary.
Great.
What, instructions? Oh, great. The most prolific musician with Heartbeat Records, never heard of that, or this person, Dana, couldn't even find a picture of her. She performed for Pope John Paul II at World Youth Day in 1993 and has an album entitled The Rosary, which is about praying to Mary as the Queen of Heaven. Dana's album, We Are One Body, is a call for ecumenical unity. Well, she's not that famous yet. In '88, the Catholic Daughters of St. Paul formed Crystal Records. Yeah, I was there actually for that one. That was exciting. I remember that. Kidding. The first release of that was the album No Greater Love by Dana. One of the songs is Totus Tuus, which means totally yours, which is Pope John Paul II's motto, or was. The words, which are embroidered on his papal robes, refer to his dedication to Mary, Totus Tuus. Other Catholic musicians who move within CCM circles are, here she is, Kathy Tricoli. I remember her from many years ago. Tom Booth, Sarah Hart, Danny Langdon, and Cheryl Crow. Just memorize those names. You say, why? I don't want to. Well, I'm telling you to, if you want to pass the test. Or be familiar with them. If I put them down, would you be able to tell that that was part of the Catholic? These are Catholic CCMers. Here is Cheryl Crow.
Country.
She's gone mainstream, yeah. I didn't even know she was Christian or Catholic. The National Catholic Register mentioned all of these in an article in March 8, 1498 issue, stating that they are using their music to evangelize evangelical young people into the Catholic faith. So this is so I'm not in this whole melting pot of CCM, so I don't listen to this stuff. But if that's happening, or potentially can happen, to your kids or folks in your church or nephews and nieces, and they can be excited about Catholicism, is that something you want? This is the conduit, maybe. The attraction to it is maybe the music. Because you're certainly not attracted to looking at a guy with a fish hat thing on, and a bunch of like scary looking robes. Does that attract you? Or going, sorry. So that doesn't attract me, but some of these musicians we'll see at the end might. Popular CCM musician Phil Kiggy, remember him, made a commitment to Christ in Assemblies of God Church in 1970, but he has now rejected Roman Catholicism. Note the following statement from a 95 interview with him. He says, "The gospel is preached in many Catholic churches, and the truth is known there." Really? Over the years, I've been a part of many non-denominational churches and denominational churches, but I have an even higher regard and respect for my Catholic upbringing, because I believe it planted the seeds of faith in me. Is Phil Kiggy even saved? He says, "I love the liturgy. I think liturgy with the Spirit is one of the most powerful ways of communicating the life of God to us." Phil Kiggy, this is back in 70s, 80s, 90s, was a very popular CCMer. I don't know about anymore, he's probably a grandpa. Okay, let's look at these pictures now. So don't look ahead on the pictures. They just need to have, you got to have their influence as you see them. I carefully chose them. Or actually, not so carefully, but Michael W. Smith. There he is in the top right, top left, but in the top right of the picture. Performed at the Catholic-sponsored World Youth Day in Denver, '93. Smith and guitars, whatever. Smith also wrote the foreword to Brennan Manning's The Ragamuffin Gospel, which is published by Multnomah Press. Manning is a Roman Catholic who attends Mass daily. I don't know. Would you write a foreword for a Catholic?
No.
The Ragamuffin Gospel? I don't even know what that's about. Smith and Amy Grant are among the CCM artists who have had interviews published in the Roman Catholic youth magazine You. Kathy Tricoli was the backup singer for Grant before she began her own record. Okay. In '94, the Catholic St. John's University gave its highest award, the Pax Christi, to Amy Grant. Pax Christi is the radical international Catholic peace movement. Well, they may have given it to her. That doesn't mean she's bad. There's other reasons why she might be bad. In the image to the side, Matt Mayer is this photo there. Matt Mayer, if you see that picture of him, is co-hosting with Michael W. Smith. Mayer is an outspoken Roman Catholic. Very popular Sandy Patty. moves freely in ecumenical circles. She has entertained audiences as the first of Billy Graham crusades, Jerry Falwell meetings, Southern Baptist Convention annual conferences, and Pope John Paul II masses. She performed at a papal mass in Los Angeles. Would you preach at a papal mass? This is an important one for you preachers. Would you, if you were invited to preach at a papal mass, a pope mass, I'm talking about the Pope,
Only once.
and you had the gumption about it, would you preach there if you could preach what you wanted to preach?
If you could
Once.
preach what you wanted
Then
to
they would
preach.
kill you afterwards.
Yeah.
Because of what I was
So we can say, Sandy Patty, Amy Grant. Okay, maybe it's more than that for them, but what an opportunity. Some would say, you're compromising there. Okay. These mega stars in the CCM realm are holding hands. Okay, now I'm bouncing out again. Holding hands with Roman Catholicism. That's not good. You want to preach there? You're holding hands, Brother Betsy, with the Pope. Well, someone could say that. Go ahead. Hugging him. I mean. They might very well be used to aid in promoting Christian acceptance to Catholicism. That's my concern. One may love Michael W. Smith or Kathy Tricoli or Phil Keaggy and find out, so you love them, you find out that they're associated with Catholic venues, and say, well, they say kind words about Catholicism, and then these listeners might become much more open to Catholicism than they otherwise would, because these guys like him. I love Michael W. Smith. He's awesome. And he's kind of for Catholics. I need to be too. And I got to stop being so judgmental.
That's exactly.
This is this lady there. You can see what's in her hand.
Rosary.
So what's going on there? That's getting a little bit of charismatic style, or which is normal evangelical style now. We used to call that charismatic, Brother Eric. No, there's normal things you do at church. Even Catholics. Wow. Let's take here. No, a little bit more. The following blog article is included in this lecture to help give us insight and balance on this issue. This is from, if you want to know where it's from. So I just found this, it was interesting. There's some insights here from well, let's read it. Our transition from evangelical to Catholic has shed light on the role of music in one's faith tradition. It's also gratefully revealed that's distinctively Protestant about MusicII. For many evangelicals, CCM is a hallmark of their cultural consumption patterns. Sure, there are different tastes and preferences, from the cheesy to the edgy, from the very to the barely Christian. But one fact seems pretty clear. Most performing artists in the CCM world run with evangelicals, so far as I can tell. Very few are Catholic. He says, why is that? And this is a balancer. I agree. Most of them are running with the evangelicals, who are playing at mostly Catholic venues, who are promoting themselves as a Catholic. Well, John Michael Taylor, but there's a few of them, but very few. He says, my best guess at an answer is threefold. That is nun lady here having an experience with her guitar. Or she's falling over. One of the two. I don't know what's going on. First, CCM's origins are evangelical. And thus, speaking sociologically, there probably weren't many cross-cutting social circles in its development, meaning they just kind of stayed evangelical. There wasn't. Let's go to the Catholics next. That is, when a brand new, or in CCM's case, a hybrid cultural form emerges among one group of people, it won't likely emerge similarly among a different group of social ties between them, members of the two groups. So, because CCM started in evangelical venues, doesn't mean it's going to also start in the Catholic. Because they aren't close together. They don't run side by side, so it's not going to happen at least right away. So the first part of the answer is rooted in older patterns of sociality. That is, historically, evangelicals and Catholics haven't socially interacted all that much, curbing the likelihood of diffusing cultural forms between them. And that's true until today. Now they are interacting. I wrote, but if they were to interact, then you could easily see CCM diffusing across the religious borders. And it is. Look down at the bottom. Look at this. Go do something beautiful. Look at the picture of the dudes. That's the dude right there with the funky bishop hat. And all these people are kind of doing a walk or something at this Catholic church. So this is weird. It's almost like they're making fun of them. They're on stage and they're laughing at them, but they got the old and the new all mixed together. The ancient and the cutting edge. Isn't that weird? That is really weird. Okay, let's go on. A second reason, more interesting one, part of my guess, is rooted in CCM's close identification with organized evangelical worship. In other words, evangelical performing artists can make a living in evangelical churches as worship leaders are just playing there in a manner that has no parallel in the Catholic Mass. So in the standard liturgical Catholic Masses and churches, those types, you ain't going to have a CCM artist come on in and clear the stage and play. Well, they're doing it there. It's just not that common. So I understand that. You're going from, talk about, we say there's no way we're getting drums on our platform, right? Well, maybe kettle drum. You fit an orchestra, but it wouldn't fit up there. So no. But in a Catholic church with its hominy dominies and everything's got to be set up just right, and the candles burning and altar boys coming and catching things, even less likely. The third reason, back up, sorry. When you add to this that there's perhaps 30 plus minutes of CCM in some evangelical worship services, you can plainly see that there's an economic market for it. And so people like it, they give them 30, 45, 60 minutes in a Catholic Mass. You get one song. The third reason is almost an oxymoron. The more suspicious approach to the meaning of contemporary among more conservative Catholic, well, I didn't understand this and I still don't. It's just that word, I understand. So contemporary Christian music, the word contemporary they don't like. Well, evangelicalism has long been characterized by a strong pragmatic sensibility, one that encourages it to keep in step with contemporary culture in order to evangelize that culture without being consumed by it. Conservative forms of Catholicism are much pragmatic or whatever. He's saying that the word contemporary turns them off. Look what he says. My first lesson in this came at a Sunday Mass I attended years ago with a friend when we were together out of town at an academic conference, blah, blah, blah. I've had the good fortune of attending midweek morning Masses with him in a variety of locations. Some of those Mass experiences were impressive, others not so much. But I've learned that my subjective experience of it was not the point. Yeah, you definitely digressed. I should have cut that out. As we sat in the pew in Atlanta, a modest praise and worship band kicked in. And I leaned over to my friend and said something like, "Hey, would you look at that?" He, to my surprise, was unimpressed. After Mass ended, my pal clued me in about how praise and worship bands tend to signal something quite different in Catholicism than they do in evangelicalism. Actually, he's wrong on this, you'll see. They are, to put it simply, more apt than not to be an indicator of modernist tendencies within the parish. I mean, they're compromising! In Catholicism, they say that. Developing the habit of imitating contemporary culture in this line of thought won't likely stop with just the music. So this guy has got it exactly right. So you're imitating, because I think I'm losing most of you here, but you're imitating contemporary culture. That's what they're concerned about, these Catholics, having these bands come in. Isn't that our concern? Because you guys aren't saying amen and going like that, so I know you're not getting it. This is also a criticism I've heard some Catholics level against evangelicalism, which they claim is a product of modern day, and thus destined, over the long run, to be consumed by it. And they're exactly right. We're going to be consumed by modernism in the world. Catholics are trying to be more conservative than say, folks. Go ahead.
The same thing's happening in the Muslim world.
Oh.
Exactly. It's going to bring the Muslims in too. Because there's the old school and the CCM-ish type. This contemporary music is coming into the Muslims, and it's
Whirling dervishes?
marrying them all together.
Yeah.
I've watched it.
Okay, so they've got something similar going on apparently in the Muslim world, Islam.
Yeah.
So it makes sense, because how are you going to pull all these people together? These groups that would otherwise kill each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you take the more liberal, accepting others, and they all have them, and they build, they get stronger. And it's kind of pleasing to the flesh, the CCM is. And then they get the charismatic experiences. Woo! Yeah. So as we finish this, we'll take a break now. Thus, I wrote, there are some Catholics that view the CCM trend in evangelicalism as worldly compromise. Would the God that we fundamentalists would be as wise as these Catholics? Maybe they need to reread